Christ Consciousness, the Alchemist Revival. So this year in 2025, we're going to have a surge of the Christ consciousness energy. And so that's what I'm going to be focusing on today for this talk. So there's a lot of information that's going to come in here. So we will go ahead and jump in. I will tell you, I just recently made a video about the 2025 frequency forecast. And at that time, I knew that the Christ consciousness was going to be really flooding in during the year 2025, but I really felt like it needed its own separate video to be able to talk about this. If you are new to my channel, my name is Nancy Rebecca. I'm a retired registered nurse, but I've been working with the consciousness and frequencies of earth energy and cosmic energy. I've been working with ascended masters. I've been mostly working with just individuals like you and me, focusing on the health of the human energy field, and have really been able to help people resolve a lot of health issues, teach them ways that they can resolve their own health issues. But a lot of times what comes up in the talks, especially 20 years ago, I was often asked, what is my religious belief? What are what do I believe in? Am I a Christian? I would really be investigated, given the third degree, before anybody would agree to see me. And I remember once when I was in South Africa and someone says, do you believe that Jesus Christ is your Savior, the Son of God? And I said, well, I believe that Jesus is the Son of God, just like I believe I'm the daughter of God and that we are all sons and daughters of God. And so that was a satisfactory enough answer. But I will tell you, there's a lot of kind of rules and regulations and belief systems around Christ and Christ returning. But I want to be very, very specific. I'm going to be talking about the energy, the frequency of Christ consciousness. I'm not going to be adding any religious bits in here. And I really encourage you to be very, very, very discerning. There are so many wonderful books about all of the mystical saints and all the ones that would create miracles, and Jesus was one of them and was quite well known for a lot of well-documented miracles. But let's just kind of jump in and see where it takes us. Be discerning and take in what fits for you and let go of what doesn't. So why did I call this Christ consciousness the alchemist revival? Well, because I've always seen the Christ consciousness essence and energy as an alchemist, meaning blending a lot of different things together to come up with the result of something that's quite sacred. And I do believe that the Christ consciousness is very sacred. When and the Christ consciousness has never left, there's this belief that Christ died on the cross and suffered for our sins and crossed over, and that one day the Christ would return. But when I explored more, when I was working with people, often we would have these different the presence of Jesus would come in, and often I would be looking at this gold, and I really thought that it was directly connected to Jesus Christ. And what was shared with me was Christ consciousness has been around since the beginning of time, and that there are many ascended masters that choose to work with the Christ consciousness energy, that Christ frequency. So it comes through very clear. It's not a religious frequency. It's not a Christian frequency. The Christians don't corner the market on the gold frequency that is often associated with the Christ consciousness. So that's what I'm going to be talking about, because when I'm doing readings for people, when this information comes through, it came through that it was like Christ had energies that it could choose from, that Jesus Christ chose to work with the Christ consciousness energy. So it is known as the Christ energy. All right, so its frequency of energy expands the heart so that love can come through, but it's multi-purpose. We are in a time now where there are many people here on the earth whose energy field was built to channel a high level of Christ consciousness. And it's interesting when they've come to my office and they're having so many problems in their relationships. They're having so much pain in their chest. And then it's come down consistently that they were specifically built, and maybe your energy field was specifically built this way too, to really be able to channel a high level of gold and channel that Christ conscious gold essence out into the world. So there are some of you who are meant to do it for millions and millions of people. And if you're not able to identify with that, then often you can kind of overlove in your personal relationships where it's a bit much, where it's like you're trying to channel, enough Christ consciousness energy for 1 million people all into one person. So often, as soon as we kind of identified that, and then they open their heart, and then I had them practice on just bringing that gold frequency all the way down through the top of their head and really allowing it to flow right out their heart chakra and just sending it out to the world, they felt much better. And so how do you know that maybe you are here on the earth to channel that Christ consciousness essence out to millions and millions and millions of people in the world? Well, you're going to know if you just allow your heart chakra to open and you invite the Christ consciousness light to come into your body, and then allow it to flow out the front and the back of your heart chakra. You're going to learn pretty quickly. If you're feeling a lot better, then you know you are one of those that is meant to channel a lot of the Christ consciousness. The blue light and the emerald light and the blue light, the emerald light, diamond light, silver, all have come through at different times in the last 20 years to keep the wave of Christ consciousness flowing, to keep it really conscious and active in people's minds and thoughts and in their hearts. But often, if you are not of the religion of Christianity, you may not think that you are entitled to be able to take in the Christ consciousness frequency. So I have a little story to share about that. I was very early learning. So I had an out-of-body experience. I didn't understand it. I did start taking some classes to help teach me. I started learning how to use my psychic sight and my healing abilities by sitting in with people who wanted a reading and wanted a healing and wanted some insight. So I was fairly new at this, and I was sitting with a wonderful woman, highly, highly skilled at spiritual sight and feelings and knowing and hearing. And so she was working with this woman, and I was just sitting next to them. I was just learning, so I was just being very still and very quiet. My whole body, though, started to ache, it was beyond flu-like symptoms. It felt like I just was so full of pain. But I kept sitting there trying to be a really good student, a good learner, not interrupt what was happening in the session. And so the client or the person that came in for the session starts describing some of the abuse that she went through in childhood. And I have to admit, it was abuse I never knew existed before. So it was quite abusive. And then she pipes up and she says to the experienced psychic reader, I can see things too. And let me back up. I missed the story. So I'm sitting there and I'm having a lot of pain, right? And so the main reader is reading, giving information, and then suddenly it was like this wave of warmth came through the room, and it was just like my whole body liquefied into this expanded state of love and bliss. It was just incredible, the feeling that came through. All right, so now back to the story. So the woman sharing the abuse that she went through, and then she said to the reader, the psychic reader, and I can see things too. And she said, oh, can you? And what's that like for you? She goes, well, like, for example, I can see that Jesus is standing behind you right now. And the main psychic reader said, well, very good, because I just asked for the presence of Jesus and the Christ force energy just a few minutes ago. Well, I just about lost it, because I never knew anything like that existed. I was not raised in a religious household. I didn't know that existed. I didn't even know Jesus Christ was real. I didn't even know any of this energy stuff was real. And so when she said it happened a few minutes ago, it was a few minutes ago where all my pain had been released from my body. And so I've never forgotten that. I've always remembered that it doesn't matter if you were a psychic school. It doesn't matter if no one in the room were active practitioners of the Christian church. It didn't matter. The Christ consciousness energy was and is and will always be available to everyone. So even when I traveled to India and to Nepal, both places expressed how Jesus brought great compassion to all of their teachings. And so in their historical documents, Jesus traveled all over the world. And I'm often reminded, not by a book that I read it in, but by that Christ consciousness, that it existed long before Jesus was on the earth, and Jesus existed 200 years before Christianity existed. And so it was quite a shock when I realized that even Jesus wasn't a Christian. Jesus took advantage of the Christ consciousness essence. I don't know if taking advantage is the right word. Infused his own light with the Christ consciousness essence and loved to share that essence with others. So, and this Christ consciousness has been passed down through many generations. So what are the qualities? Because I call it a Christ consciousness alchemy. So, and an alchemy is a blend of things. And because I always see the Christ consciousness essence as this blend of this really incredibly beautiful liquid gold with some little other colors in it. So it is a blend. So let's talk about the qualities of the Christ consciousness that's coming in. And all of those other, the blues and the emerald greens and the silvers and the diamonds that have all been coming through from the star beings and the galactic consciousness as well, is really helping to prepare all of us to receive higher levels of the Christ consciousness, if it is in alignment with who you are and who you are growing into be. And so it's my strong sense, and I don't have anything to back it up other than just my intuition. It is my strong sense that the year 2025 will be a very powerful year of Christ conscious energy. So let me talk about the qualities of the Christ consciousness energies. First of all, unity and oneness. Christ consciousness resonates with the understanding that all life is interconnected. It dissolves illusions of duality. It fosters a sense of universal brotherhood and sisterhood. And the Christ consciousness aligns with the principle of God in all things, or the divine spark in every being. Part of the alchemist Christ consciousness is forgiveness, freeing individuals from resentment, guilt, and shame, encouraging the state of grace. And this is very strong with Christ consciousness, where forgiveness heals both the giver and the receiver. Forgiveness, the Christ consciousness, this was a big surprise for me. But surprising, but not surprising. It transcends karmic cycles through the power of letting go. Now, the more you are grounded in your body, the more you create a light body, the more you function off the present moment. The more you're out of your body, you're floating above your body, you're more disassociated, the more you're following the karmic laws. And so throughout this year, I'll get a little bit more into that. Part of the alchemical process of the Christ consciousness is divine wisdom and truth opening you. And I hope that you're allowing this Christ consciousness to flow through you right now as you're hearing this talk. Opens access to higher spiritual knowledge, intuitive insights, aligns with universal truth that transcends religious and cultural boundaries, brings clarity and illumination to life's mysteries and challenges. And in the Bible, they talk about the 7 seals and they talk about the 7 churches. Those are in alignment with the 7 chakras. So you can look that up and do your own deep dive. What do I call our intuitive investigators or intuitive archaeologists? All right, healing. This is another part of the Christ alchemy, is healing and restoration. Balances and harmonizes physical, emotional, and spiritual energies. Activates profound self-healing and capabilities within all human beings, regardless of your beliefs and regardless of your actions. The Christ consciousness resonates with frequencies that encourage regeneration and vitality. Christ consciousness brings through peace and equanimity establishing an inner calm, stability, and even amidst, oh my gosh, I need a drink of water, external chaos. So even in the middle of chaos, you can bring through this inner calm, this inner peace of the Christ consciousness anytime. You don't have to do anything special. You can be on the highway, driving in your car in a traffic jam, and just ask for the peace of the Christ consciousness to come through you. Higher vibrational frequencies, which is really happening in this 2025 year, aligning with the chakras, especially the heart chakra, the third eye, and the crown chakra, which connects you to source. It activates light codes. It activates ascension energies for the human energy field, and it helps the Christ consciousness, helps accelerate spiritual growth, vibrational ascension. This is very much Christ consciousness. The essence, the alchemy part, is inspire selfless service to others, sacrifice and service, rooted in love and humility, demonstrates the power of giving and living for a higher purpose. We're really struggling in humanity right now. We can really think about what's going on with the neighbor, or what's going on with the sister or the brother, or can you believe our friend did this, that, and the other. But the Christ consciousness, when it starts to infuse through you, it almost commands and demands that you really focus on the greater humanity and what those needs are, living at a higher purpose. Also teaches you true strength that lies in gentleness and surrender to divine will. And the presence of miracles. We've just recently come through the blue star of miracles around the winter solstice that still is existing as we head towards the end of 2024, moving into 2025. And this is really bringing through that Christ consciousness alchemy. Again, inviting synchronicities, manifestations, and miracles into your life. Aligning with the frequency of divine intervention and grace. And again, I can't say this enough. You don't have to be living this perfect good life to ask for and receive the Christ consciousness energy, frequency. The Christ consciousness frequency opens doorways to infinite possibilities through trust and faith. Christ light activation, often visualized as a radiant golden, a white light that envelops and permeates everything, activating dormant DNA, higher consciousness in individuals, connecting and activating your ability to connect with the celestial realms and the angelic realms. So how do you personally cultivate Christ consciousness? Well, meditation and prayer, focusing on the qualities of love, compassion, and unity, acts of service, a gratitude practice, living authentically, aligning your thoughts, words, and actions with divine principles, and heart-centered living, anchoring awareness in the heart and portal to divine love. Now, in saying all of that, you also can just simply be sitting on the highway in a traffic jam, and you can just ask for the presence of the Christ consciousness in your life to help uplift you. It does not matter the deepest, the darkest, the dirtiest, the messiest situations. It's like the Christ consciousness. It's a frequency. It's like a quantum frequency. It's like you ask and you receive. It's that simple. And so I invite you all, even as you're listening to this video, to say, hey, why not? I'm asking to receive and allow that beautiful, gorgeous alchemist Christ consciousness of this golden white light to just really fill you and surround you. Again, it's available to everyone. And the forgiveness piece, it is absolutely true. You can always ask for forgiveness, and it is always given according to the Christ consciousness essence. It's like if I ask for emerald green to come through, it will come through. If I ask for the lapis blue to come through, it'll come through. If I ask for this gorgeous cosmic red, it will answer my prayers and it will come. And the golden Christ consciousness energy is exactly the same way. So I'm excited about 2025 for many, many, many reasons, but this is exactly one of the biggest reasons why I'm super excited. So I'm going to share a little story with you about the presence of Jesus and meeting Jesus. I've been blessed with the presence of Jesus several times. And each time he's beautiful, radiant, golden, and his eyes are radiant. And he was always in these beautiful white robes and always so loving. He's always so present. And one day I was working with a client who was laying on the table. I was offering a healing. And I remember I asked for the presence of Jesus to come to be in the room with this person that I was working with. And I felt the presence of Jesus come into the room. And I felt as if he was like right to the back to my right. So I've got my client's eyes are closed. I have my hands in the energy field and I turn and look and I went, he had on Levi jeans, a white t-shirt and Birkenstock shoes. And I'm like, what happened to your robes? And he said, you don't need me to wear them anymore. And so that really told me a lot as well, is that when you want to have that relationship with the Christ consciousness, and if you choose to have a relationship with the Christ consciousness through the living Son of God that was Jesus, and during the time that he was on earth, it's like he's just a normal, he's relatable. That's what I can say. His relationship with you is relatable. You don't have to have special training. You don't have to be special. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be a particular religion. Just call and the presence of the Christ consciousness will be there. All right, everyone, thank you so much. And if you have your own Christ consciousness story, I would so love for you to put it in the comments section, because there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be reading this. And if you had an experience when you called in the alchemical process of the Christ consciousness energy, I would love to hear your experience as well. All right, everyone, take care. Look forward to reading all of your experiences, and I especially look forward to the heightened sense of Christ consciousness coming through in 2025.